Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from simpleprogrammer.com. So today I want to do a video talking about a topic that I've discussed partially before, but I want to give even a higher level understanding of what I've talked about before. So I had actually some of my most unpopular videos on this channel were these two videos I did about introversion, okay? And the first one was kind of harsh, right? So you can check out that. But the second one, I doubled down, but I explained my position a little bit better and it was a little bit less harsh for those of you that self-identify as introverts, right? Which was me at the time, right? I'm on your fucking side, okay? But you can check that out. It's in the description below as well. But anyway, one of the things I was talking about in this concept, I mean, in these videos, and one concept that I really hold true to myself is that I don't really believe in labels. I believe that people are more dynamic and, you know, that labels are more like how we can identify what's happening at a present moment, right? In order for us to talk about a thing or for us to be able to group things, it's almost like design patterns in programming, right? But they're not useful for people. Like, we shouldn't label people as much as we can avoid it, because by labeling people, we limit them and we limit our perception of them, and when we self-label, we self-limit ourselves, right? We're very much dynamic. You can be whatever the fuck you want to be. You can change and grow and progress, and oftentimes a label is a limiting thing. But there's more to it than just that, because I think that not only is labeling destructive in that way, but many times there's a false dichotomy, right? So I want to talk about opposites and what I call false opposites. And I'll start off with the one that, you know, obviously is going to get me in the most trouble, that most people are going to get irked about, which is that whole introversion, extroversion, right? I don't believe those opposites exist. I believe those are just two elements of expressing yourself with people, and like a yin and a yang and a cyclic pattern that people go through, right? And again, you can argue with me all the psychology and science and show me books and stuff about how I don't understand introversion, and introversion doesn't mean that you can't be social, that you have social anxiety, or that you're shy, or I understand. I've heard all that before. But what I'm saying is that we all have both of those elements within us. We all have the elements of introversion, even the textbook ones that you want to tell me, right? I understand that you get your energy from being by yourself, maybe just quietly reading, that's how you get your energy, and other people get their energy from being out and about in the world, right? From other people, from social interactions. But I would challenge you to say, I would say that when you think of things that way, when you say, and again, and I'll give you some more examples, but this is the one that's the hot button, so we'll pick on that one. All right, so when you say that there are these two polar opposites, okay? When you say introversion and extroversion are opposites, what you're doing is you're saying that you can only be one or the other, and you can only be one or the other at the same time, right? Now, this doesn't exist. Like, some opposites truly exist in the world, but as far as attributes of people, a lot of times there's these false opposites, and this is just one that I'm picking on. There's plenty of false opposites out there, but I want to use this one because it's very easy to illustrate this point. So it doesn't mean like that things can only be one or the other. And when you do this, when you separate this out, you got to say that, okay, either this person gets their energy from being by themselves, or they get it from being out with other people, right? So, and I'm classifying this at a very simplified level of introversion, extroversion, obviously, but is that true? Is that universally true? Is it universally true that a person has to either get their energy from this one place or the other? I mean, and when we're talking about getting their energy, then we're already talking about a very transcendental kind of concept anyway. I mean, what does that actually mean, right? So we'll excuse that that's a very vague and amorphous term, okay? But let's just say that that's okay, all right? So is that really true, though? Is it really true universally that if you get your energy, I mean, this is what an opposite means, right? If you get your energy from quiet self-reflection, from being by yourself, if that's how you recharge your battery, does that mean you can't get your energy from external, from society, from being around people? If that's true, right, then those would be truly opposites. It's the opposite. Up and down can't coexist. Something can't be up and down. Something can't be to the north and to the south. Although, wait a minute. Is that true? Could something be to the north and to the south? Let's think about this. Could something be to the north and to the south, right? If you're on a map, if you're on a globe, right? I happen to have a globe here, actually. Let's bring this up. Okay. So if you're here and you've got something here, which direction is it from you? Is it north? Yeah. Okay. But is it south as well? Like if I keep going south, 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 will I get there as well? I will, won't I? So you see, even north and south are not necessarily opposites, because they might take you to the same place. You see what I'm saying? So some of these things, it's like when we say opposites, it's sort of a cop-out way, and a lot of times, even just in physical reality, for us to be able to make a mental characterization of things so that we can talk about them easier, so that we can simplify things, so we don't have to explain, well, if you kept going south, you'd actually be north, right? We just want to say it's north, right? So there's a reason why we have opposites like that. But most of the time, in practical reality and in our personalities, those things don't really exist. They're just attributes. Some things and more things in life, in the world, are attributes, not opposites. To be an opposite, you have to have a very strict set of rules. It has to be A and not B. They can't be both, right? You can't be up and down at the same time. Although I said the north and south, you could, right? So those aren't really opposite as far as when you bring context into it, right? At the very pure form, at the very pure mathematical form, north and south are different directions and there are opposites. I agree. But when you bring practicality into it and you bring the context and you say, well, it's on a globe on the earth, oh, okay, now they could actually not be opposites. You see what I'm saying? They're just directions, they're just attributes. So again, what I'm trying to point out here is that there's a lot of character, a lot of qualities that we tend to think are opposites, right? Is this person, are they a calm person? Or are they a stressed person or an agitated person, right? Are they a happy person or a sad person, right? When you apply these labels and you apply these opposites, right? I mean, have you ever been happy and a little bit sad at the same time? Well, I sure have, okay? Now, some things definitely don't go together. I've never been angry and grateful, okay? I think that's probably a combination that doesn't exist, but they're not opposites either, right? They're just attributes, and there's a different relationship between those two attributes. So, I know this sounds a little bit weird, and you're like, well, what's your point here? I'm just saying, my point is this. It's not to beat the introversion, extroversion dead horse. You can have a different opinion on that if you want. It's fine. It's cool. But it's just to say that, look, you need to understand that a lot of, it's a very simplified way of looking at the world. And there's a lot of authors, there's a lot of people that say things, and they're well-meaning, and they want to describe things in terms of opposites, okay? And you have to just shake it out of your mind. You just have to realize that just like imaginary numbers in math, that it's a concept that's useful for describing things sometimes, but it's not the fundamental reality, right? The fundamental reality behind the thing is that most of the things that you think are opposites are actually just attributes. And both of those attributes can be present in many cases at the same time, right? I know personally, for me as a person, being someone who is pretty dynamic and who purposely stretches myself in both directions, right? Who lets the pendulum swing both ways. I'm not sure what that implies, but you know what I'm saying? Is that I get a lot of my energy or my recharge from alone time, from reading books and just chilling out by myself and no one around. But I also go into the crowd and it fucking fires me up and I get energy as well, and sometimes in the same day. Okay, like those are both ways that I can. I mean, it's like, you know, I've got, heck, I just bought this mic, right? I'm going to be using this new mic here, and it's got a battery-powered USB, but it also has XLR input, right? So I can power it via USB, but I can also power it via XLR. Well, why would you think that people are different than that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, they are. And again, you may have a preference, and you may characterize yourself, and you may have been told by society, and you may have decided so that you are this way and not this way, because that's the opposite of what you are, okay? But that's that doesn't make it true. That just makes it that you like this, you identify with this is where your identity is, and you're hung up over on this side, and you're going to live your life over on this side, and think that the other side or the other thing is an opposite and this other attribute, and so it doesn't apply to you. But that doesn't necessarily make it true. So I hope you gathered something from this, right? And if there's anything, like I said, that you could gather from this, it would be this one just simple point. Is that, like, again, stop allowing the simplification of the world to make you believe that things have to be one way or the other. There's many, many cases where both attributes can be present, where things are not opposites, but they're attributes, and they can both be present, right? And this can be from emotions, this can be from characteristics, how people behave, right? All of these things can both coexist in many cases. There are very few true opposites, and if you limit yourself, if you limit your thinking that way, then you're going to impose limits on yourself. Because by virtue, if I believe that introversion and extroversion are opposites, I have to believe that I am one or the other, or I'm acting as if one or the other, and I can't have both elements together, right? It's more complicated than that, right? The universe didn't have a concept of introversion and extroversion. We invented that concept. We applied a bunch of characteristics to it and said this is what it is, and we defined it and created a term and a word for it. But it doesn't mean that it actually exists within the physical reality. Okay, so I know I wasn't going to just pick on, said I wasn't going to pick on introversion and extroversion, and I don't mean to, but you know, that's really probably the best example that I can come up with, and it's one that we can all relate to. So I'm gonna leave it at that. If you have not subscribed already, click that subscribe button, click the bell so you don't miss any videos. I'll talk to you next time.